The breaking news, even as the House Oversight Committee behind closed doors here does its transcribed interview with Howard Lutnik, the Commerce Secretary, about his knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein and his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The Department of Justice is not digging into this. Instead, the Department of Justice is digging elsewhere, in Portsmouth, Virginia, where there is a raid on a property associated with the Virginia Senate Democratic leader, Louise Lucas. She's the one who really spearheaded and drove that redistricting in Virginia that passed in an election earlier this spring.
What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here, and we got another story. That, as a matter of fact, there's two in one here. There is two in one here. Keep the music on. Let's keep the music up just a little bit, because in this story, we're going to be talking about how the DOJ, the Department of Justice, is just another tool for white supremacy, another tool for the PDF files, another tool for a dictator who these people have put in charge willingly because they care more about the destruction of people of color and the feeling of power over others than they do about their own gas prices or the price of food or houses or anything. It was all a lie. Than they do about the protection of children. It was all a lie. They don't care at all about them. Let's start with this. I'm going to show you a video. We'll come back afterwards.
The breaking news, even as the House Oversight Committee behind closed doors here does its transcribed interview with Howard Lutnik, the Commerce Secretary, about his knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein and his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The Department of Justice is not digging into this. Instead, the Department of Justice is digging elsewhere, in Portsmouth, Virginia, where there is a raid on a property associated with the Virginia Senate Democratic leader, Louise Lucas. Louise Lucas isn't just any Democrat in Virginia. She's the one who really spearheaded and drove that redistricting in Virginia that passed in an election earlier this spring. Louise Lucas, now the subject of an FBI investigation. The FBI confirmed the search in a statement to us as the afternoon began. But there are all kinds of red flags here. We don't know the nature of the case. No court filings have been made public. We don't know the nature of the charges. Nevertheless, on Fox News, they're getting real ahead of themselves, characterizing it as the afternoon began as a corruption probe. Take a listen.
Very influential Democrat from Virginia, State Senator Louise Lucas, is at the center of a major FBI corruption investigation. Right now, in fact, agents are executing search warrants across.
I hate Black Republicans with a disdain that you would only hold for the dirtiest of dirty rats. I hate them. It makes me want to throw up to see you. For real, honestly. I don't know how else to express it. To see what you've become and how the people who have raised you are turning over in their grave. To see how the people have fought for your freedoms and you are still here fighting for white supremacy against black folks. Everything about you disgusts me. Your face, your hair, your clothes, your voice. I hate you. I'm disgusted by you. Looking at you brings absolute, just a gag reflex to me. Figured I'd say that out loud.
Across the Commonwealth, including her office. Alex Hogan is in Portsmouth, Virginia. Alex.
Hi, Harris. So the FBI here telling us today that these are court-authorized criminal search warrants that they are issuing. They're going into the building behind me. This is the office here in Portsmouth of State Senator Louise Lucas. You can likely see some of the FBI agents behind me. All of the staffers inside this building were told to come outside. I could hear them saying that they were not allowed back in the building. Throughout the last hour, we've been seeing the FBI come and go carrying boxes out of the building. Now, just across the parking lot next to where I am, there is a cannabis cannabis dispensary. We know that the state senator is associated with several cannabis locations and dispensaries. And what we're seeing there, a completely different scene carrying out. SWAT teams arrived with their weapons drawn, telling anyone in the building to come out of the building with their hands up. We also saw at least 3 people being taken away, taken into custody. First, they were put in handcuffs, put on the ground, and then they...
All of that is for show. Allow me real quick to inject some reality for you. The big deal here is that lady, the state senator, is under investigation for some fraud, or maybe, or not maybe, but for some fraud, and as well as, you know, improper dealing with these people who run the cannabis place. All the SWAT team and the guns and the put your hands on the floor and all this stuff is about already making people think that she's guilty. The thing is, this has been a probe that's been before Trump. This was started during, I believe, the Biden administration. It's been there in 2024. It's been there since 2024. I'm not willing to say that that she's right or wrong, or that she did or didn't do it. What I am willing to say is, in the face of Comey, in the face of every single person who's been an enemy to Trump, the weapon that he's used against him has been our Department of Justice. They are his very own law firm, paid for by you and me. And they have not done anything. They, meaning the Trump administration, has not done anything to earn the benefit of the doubt. So now that you have all of the information, I still say they're doing it because it's retaliation. That's illegal. And all of the guns and the come out wherever you are, the hands up, all of that stuff is just to muster support. It's just for the look, for the embarrassment, and to make it seem like they're already illegal, already doing something wrong, already criminals. Remember that. As this story progresses, we'll watch the rest of it.
Were taken away. So it's a slightly less large presence than we did see earlier, but there still is a good amount of FBI agents still here on the ground. Also, what happened within the last hour, the Senator Louise Lucas arrived here herself. I was able to speak with her. I asked her what her reaction was to all of this. She told me she had no idea what they were doing here. I asked her about the different locations that they might be. She, in response, asked me what locations the FBI were at today. We know, according to officials, at least 10 locations are being looked at today. Harris.
Alex, great job getting her right as this was going on.
There are going to be questions raised about how Fox News was there as the raid was undertaken, that type of thing.
Boom. So that is why I haven't seen all of this yet. I just saw the very beginning, and he says exactly, this is exactly what you need to know. Somebody obviously leaked this to Fox News. The reporting that I got yesterday, last night, around 3 a.m, was that these things she was already under investigation since 2024, but they didn't have enough info. They didn't have enough of a case to do anything about it yet. They weren't ready yet. But the Trump administration had been sitting on this, holding it, hoping to do something to discredit another person, another Democrat, before the election. And after she spearheaded that awesome gerrymandering, well deserved, they decided to go forward with this, which may be their Achilles heel, because they always jump before they look.
Thing is rare. Covered the FBI for a lot of years. Covered the Department of Justice.
And what I meant to say was they leaked it to Fox so that it could get a bigger eyes on it, so that they could show all the guns, so that they could show the big SWAT team. Fox just happened to be there. It's all for that purpose, to make her look guilty, even if they don't have enough to win the case.
For a lot of years, you don't get advance warning of raids, in part because it's viewed that could put people in jeopardy, either people being raided or the raiders. What's more, it's in the Justice Manual. If you turn to section 7-71, you'll see it is proscribed in the Justice Manual. You do not have media with advance warning of a search unless it has high levels of approval. And this has happened before, but in this case, it clearly had a high level of approval. But look at the Justice Manual and look at the images on the screen. You can see those two are not connected. But what's more, it really is telling that the Department of Justice is trying to take a megaphone to blast out this search. It's clearly a political rival of the president's. What's more, they're blasting this out while they keep behind closed doors what's happening with the Epstein files. Howard Lutnik's interview is behind closed doors, and there's been no action by the Department of Justice to hear the voices of or amplify the voices of Epstein survivors. I have some statements that have come in about the Louise Lucas raid from Bobby Scott, the longtime Virginia.
That doesn't matter. This brings us to part two of this story. Number one, the DOJ has been weaponized. Number two, your Fox News media is a propaganda arm of the state. Number three, not only has the DOJ been weaponized, and not only is Fox News the propaganda arm of the state, they are working illegally to go after non-criminals while leaving actual PDF files alone. So that means that if they're working illegally already, they're willing to not go by the law and their own manuals. There is a bigger threat that happens when you're talking about those people who are illegal, the actual criminals that they're leaving alone. There's actually a threat that they could be working, since they're working for the president now, since they're working for Kankles himself, well, that means they could also be doing stuff like this. Watch this, guys. As they were leaving the Epstein files alone.
First Epsteiners to come forward and tell their story should be front page news. But it is something that the mysterious disappearance of an Epstein survivor, one of the first Epstein survivors to come forward and tell their story, should be front page news. But it is something that we have gotten used to at this point. I
want to make sure you got that. The DOJ that works illegally to go after the political enemies of the president and also has a propaganda arm, a mouthpiece with which to publicize the things they want, real or not, real or fake, illegal or not, also has the ability to ignore actual criminals. And if that's the case, and they're already working illegally, which we've seen, against their own rule book, which we've seen, they also can do things to and for criminals like the president. I'm trying to bring it together here. Under that auspice, I'm now seeing that.
The mysterious disappearance of an Epstein survivor, one of the first Epstein survivors to come forward and tell their story, should be front page news. But it is something that we have gotten used to at this point. The cover-up, the hiding of documents, the deletion of records. This is just what we have unfortunately grown accustomed to. The mainstream media has all but moved on from the Epstein files, and hopefully not only this story, but the disaster testimony that Howard Lutnik gave today should refocus on the biggest presidential scandal in history. Howard Lutnik's testimony today was so disastrous that Ro Khanna said if it was public, he would be fired. But that's the problem. It is not public. It is being hidden. It is being covered up. Much like Epstein files, it's disappearing. And that is what has happened to the survivor whose story I want to tell. I have a lot of questions and more than a couple of conspiracies about that article that we're going to get into. But I want to start on Howard Lutnik because it is a report from Ro Khanna like this that has Donald Trump panicking.
Now we know why that interview was not videotaped. If Donald Trump had seen the video transcript, he would have fired Howard Lutnik. It was really embarrassing. He was asked very straightforward questions about whether he regretted misleading the American people. I mean, he said that he would never see Epstein again in 2005. And everyone knows that he took his wife and kids to see Epstein in 2012. And yet it was just contortions and lies and no acknowledgement that he misled the American public. And if you saw the exchanges that my colleagues had with him, you would see he made a farce of the English language. I mean, he was trying to define I as if saying that what he really meant is that he would not see Epstein alone, but be totally fine with having his wife and kids see Epstein. It made no sense. And then he's raised even more serious concerns about the investigation. He originally had said that Epstein engaged in blackmail and recorded videotapes. Now he's saying, well, he was wrong. He was just speculating, and Epstein actually didn't engage in blackmailing.
MAGA, where you at? Q, where are you when we need you, huh? This is gross. The DOJ is not only acting illegally on behalf of the criminal, the convicted 34-time criminal, the guy who says he would date his daughter. He would screw his own daughter if she wasn't his daughter. Looking at her and thinking that guy who went up the escalator and looked at a 10-year-old and said, I'll be dating her in 10 years, in 5 years, whatever he said. That's what he was thinking while looking at a child. That guy is in control of a DOJ willing to do illegal things for him. That's the point of that whole part. Now that you know that.
So concerned. Epstein victim who threw vibrator at pedo mysteriously vanishes. Elisabetta Ferretto, 50, had a run-in with Jeffrey Epstein in 2004. She has now gone missing. A former model who said she fought off pedo Jeffrey Epstein with a sex toy has mysteriously gone missing in New York, according to reports. Elisabetta has not been heard from since April 22nd after daily calls with her family suddenly stopped, according to the U.S. Sun and multiple Italian outlets, including La Stampa, one of the country's oldest and most prominent newspapers. The former model, also described as a real estate entrepreneur, was one of the first women to accuse Epstein of sexual abuse. She alleged that during what she believed was a professional meeting at his Manhattan home in 2004, Epstein undressed in front of her. Speaking in 2019, Ferretto said that she had been sent to Epstein by her booker, who told her the financier would change her life and could help her land a job as a Victoria's Secret model. Epstein was known as a close associate and financial advisor to Leslie Wexner, the owner of the brand. She said that after she began discussing her experience, Epstein moved toward a massage table and started removing his clothes, believing someone would enter to give him a massage. She said that she was instead handed a vibrator and told to approach. Ferretta said she froze, then grabbed the object and threw it at his head before running from the room. I mean, I don't know where it landed. I just blacked out. And then I ran as fast as I could out of the room, she said. She claimed she struggled to find her way out of the property and was briefly stopped by Ghislaine Maxwell, who she said told her she could not leave and that Epstein was important. Originally from northern Italy, Ferretto has lived in New York since 2001. She traveled to Venice in early April to visit family before returning to Manhattan. After her...
I'll stop it there. Screenshot for the name and how to spell it. What I'm finding and what I'm telling you is, while the DOJ goes after Virginia lawmakers illegally and feeds information to the propaganda arm of the state called Fox News, a survivor has gone missing. And if you go back to all the rest of the Epstein files, the amount of girls that they offed, discarded with. This is not news as much as it is a pattern. And God dog it if our taxpayers aren't paying for it now. When before billionaires used to pay for this pattern, now my money is going to pay for this pattern. I have no reason to believe anything Kash Patel says. I have no reason to believe anything the criminal in office says. I believe that if you think you do, you're sorely mistaken. And I hope someone finds her before she ends up in that pattern. Join me. 7 days in D.C., June 28th through July 4th. We're giving classes on how to protest properly, how to do direct action protests, not standing in the park. We're also doing actual direct action for those 7 days in the faces of lawmakers who can impeach this guy, as well as doing veterans events, as well as doing some fun events. Robbie the Road Steamer is putting on some wrestling matches to counteract the, what is it? What is it called? The UFC fights that Trump is putting on the White House floor. Those are the news stories I wanted to tell you. It gets heavy, but we fight back. Also understand that they are stealing voting rights away. Look at that. They're stealing voting rights away. So sign up at newsletter.peoplepowerunited.org to find out how to stay on top of your registration, of your voting precinct, of all the things you need to know in order to vote. The time to fight is now.